Hey, welcome back to the Big Ranch Show. Thank you for joining me. Now, you may or may not remember this story. It's from last May. I think right around, just right around the George Floyd stuff going down. Well, unfortunately, this is another situation of excessive force used by police. Ryan Whitaker was a 40-year-old man living in around Phoenix, Arizona, when he and his girlfriend, fiance, wife, whoever she was, they were hanging out playing video games, and apparently there was a noise complaint claiming that there was a domestic violence thing going on in the area. But what it was these two were playing video games about 2 or 3 in the morning. Now here's the problem. Within not even 20 seconds upon him opening the door, he's gunned down in the back. You see the picture here from one of the body cams. You see that officer standing on the other side of him there? That man shoots him in the back within 20 seconds of him coming out that door. Now here's the thing. Apparently in America you have the right to have a firearm. That's your right as an American, right? It's not supposed to be infringed. This man, because it was 2 or 3 in the morning, and they'd had problems with people, knocking on the door, trying to get in, things like that. So what did he do? He entered the door with his pistol, not realizing he was the police. But the moment that he saw the police, he started putting the gun down. But the guy that he didn't even see, the officer he didn't even see, shot and killed him from behind. From all accounts, this guy was a decent guy. I don't know if he had any problems in the past. It doesn't really matter. But folks, you see, this is why you don't call the police for every petty thing. It gets people killed. And you could just as easily go over there, knock on the door like a normal human being, and be like, hey, can you turn it down? I understand sometimes you have to, because sometimes they don't. And they don't do what people don't act right. And so you call the police. But police should be more understanding for a noise complaint as well. Yeah, I understand that they were told domestic violence. And those can be bad situations for cops. I get that. But unfortunately, their rush to judgment here led to the death of an innocent man. And a woman left wondering why her boyfriend is dead on the ground. And the police tried to make like he was the aggressor here, but he wasn't the aggressor. The moment he knew who he noticed that they were police, he was putting his gun down. You can see in that picture right there. His gun is pointed to the ground. To the ground. If he was looking to shoot them, do you think his gun would be pointed at the ground? The answer is no. So Merrick Garland and the Civil Rights Division at the DOJ has launched an investigation into the Phoenix PD, not just for this case, but several other cases of excessive force used by the police out of the Phoenix PD. This isn't an isolated incident in Phoenix, Arizona. There have been a number of times where Phoenix PD has overstepped their bounds in the use of excessive force. And I hope the DOJ finds enough to get some kind of punishment. There needs to be something done about the Phoenix PD. A few years ago, I watched a mother end up getting shot, almost shot anyway. She didn't get shot, but the cops just lost their minds over these little kids that were in a car and they were trying to get into their apartment. And just because she had been speeding or made an illegal lane change or some BS before she turned into the parking lot, they came at her with, full force of the firearms and everything. Why? Because she was a minority. This case, this guy wasn't. This proves right here that the Phoenix PD violates people's civil rights regardless of race. And it needs to stop. We've got to have police reform in this country. Because not only do things like this happen in Phoenix, Arizona, it happened in Louisville, Kentucky. It's happened in other places. Remember, Breonna Taylor, for example, was gunned down in her own home by officers who wildly and indiscriminately fired into the home, not knowing who was there. Why did they start firing into the home? Because they did a no-knock warrant and they didn't bother to announce who they were in the middle of the night. Now, I'm not one that hates officers, all officers. But the fact is, you have so few supposed good officers standing up and saying, hey, this shit is wrong, that it's not change. No, there's no change happening. At least finally in the George Floyd trial, you had a few officers that were like, hey, this wasn't right. But where were the officers? Where was the other officer? Why didn't the other officer tell this officer to calm down before they even started? Because there was no reason for the shoot. There was nothing justified here. He didn't point the gun at anybody. The body cam video shows, contrary to the lies that they told the girlfriend and in their paperwork, the man didn't make any aggressive moves towards them at all. In fact, he realized who they were, and he starts bending down and putting the gun on the ground. As Dr. Ritchie over at Indisputed laid out the other day, and I really suggest you check that channel out. He is an awesome guy over at the TYT network. It's Indisputable, I believe is the name of the show. I love his show. It's fun. He's entertaining. And he gets to the points. Gets to the facts of the matter. But as he put out, this guy was a good guy with a gun. And being a good guy with a gun, just using your Second Amendment rights, got him gunned down. Think about that, folks. Ryan Whitaker was shot last year simply for exercising his Second Amendment rights to keep and bear arms. And you know me, I'm not a gun guy. I don't give a damn about people being able to own guns. I don't care. But the fact is, that's the law. This man should not have been shot for exercising his God-given rights. And if it wouldn't have been him, it would have been somebody else. How many other people, before they started using body cameras, did they shoot dead simply for having a firearm? These are things that need to be investigated and need to be found out. But these are the kind of things that piss me off. Because you're told you're allowed to have a firearm, but then if you happen to have it when you go by when you're near a police officer, they get to shoot you dead. The Phoenix PD didn't even decide until this year, earlier this summer, that they were going to fire the officer that murdered this man. Because that's what it was. It was murder. There's no other way to put it. How else can you describe gunning someone down in the back who is no threat to you. He was shot in the back while he was putting down the weapon. I have family members who are gun owners. And I would hate for this to happen to them. Especially if they don't know who's at the door. And sometimes the officers don't even show up to the right place and they shoot people. Reminds me of a story that my mother was telling me a while back. When she was living in Dayton, Texas. An officer from, I believe, the sheriff's department was looking for a house further down the road from her. But he had decided to just walk onto her property, unannounced. Didn't want to identify himself at first. Until she mentioned she had a firearm too. Then all of a sudden he's announcing who he is. But luckily, he figured out what was going on, that he was in the wrong place, and he went on his way and apologized for bothering. Well, that could have easily gone the wrong way. If it had an officer with a hair trigger, could have been totally different. So if you ask me, this is a good thing. The DOJ needs to investigate what's going on here. They need to check out the violations of people's civil rights and civil liberties. And their stolen lives at the point of a pistol. Mr. Whitaker was not doing anything wrong. He was trying to make sure that he was protected if he went to the door and there's somebody with a gun. And then he thought, well, crap, these are police officers. Let me put my weapon down. If I had the video for you, I would show you the video. But the video it's terrible. I mean, the officer wasn't even man enough to shoot him in the face or in the front. The police officer was a coward and shot him in the back while he was leaning down. This is why people don't like police. This is why we say defund the police. Granted, it's not really put very well. It may need another slogan because it makes people think you're getting rid of all the money for the police. But they need something. I don't know if they need their money reallocated to where they're better trained. I don't know what they need to do. But what I do know is what happened to Ryan Whitaker, it happened to Breonna Taylor, and happened to George Floyd, and all the others. Like Botham Jean. Too many police officers are cowards. And that's why you get what you get. I'm going to tell you this. If you're a coward, don't be a police officer. Don't sign up for it. It's not a job I would have ever wanted. I'd have been too concerned that somebody was going to shoot me, so I would shoot them first too. Because that fear makes you do stupid shit. But when you're an officer, you've got to be smarter than that. I'm not asking for you to make every call properly as a police officer. If you pull somebody over on the wrong person, okay. You end up on the wrong person's property, okay. But what I can't forgive, is indiscriminately shooting people simply because you think you fear for your life. But in this case, the officer can't even claim he feared for his life because he shot him in the back. I don't understand it. I really don't. If you have any ideas on why an officer would have a reason to shoot a man in the back as he's leaning down to put down his firearm, please let me know. I would love to have that debate. I would love to explain to you how there is no reasonable explanation for gunning a man down in the back. There's never reason to shoot somebody in the back, especially when they don't know you're there. Now, could I understand if there was a firefight of some sort and the guy was running away and a cop shot him? Sure, okay. But that's not what happened here. That's not what happened in most of the cases of these uses of excessive force by police. And I hope the DOJ will go through and look at a lot of these police departments. Not just Phoenix, not just Louisville, Kentucky, but everywhere where you've had this happen. Baltimore, for example. These are things that I just don't understand. I don't understand how you can do this. Anyways, hope you're having a good day. I've been your host, Jacob Keck, and I'll see you down the road.